What's going on, everybody? Tugi here, back again, another episode of our Newfoundland Growlers Draft to Glory series. Of course, we are here, the 2033-34 season. We have a couple of things to talk about before we get into the season sim to see if we are postseason bound for yet another run at the Cup. Maybe, possibly, maybe not. And I'll tell you why in a minute. First and foremost, I do want to say, because this is still on my mind from yesterday's episode, where, of course, you know, if you're me, and you've done this on a couple of occasions, the whole strategy in the playoffs, and yes, we're still on this subject, the whole strategy in the playoffs of, hey, let's change up the lines. Right now, that line, in theory, is running at 66% because someone is lagging behind. Let's try to get that line up to 99% efficiency. Everybody firing on all cylinders. When that works, no complaints from anybody for the most part. There are still some people who are like, you never should have done that to begin with. When it doesn't work, it really does remind me that I love this. And I'll tell you why. Because of you guys being the way that you are, it is almost as close as you can get to replicating the feeling of actually being a GM in real life. Where if you do one thing and it works, perfect. If you do the same thing and it doesn't work, you're the worst and it's the best. I've never felt more like Marc Bergevin without the biceps. So thank you for that. Now, I mentioned a couple seconds ago here about our playoff hopes and our cup run hopes. We made it to the conference final last year. What happened, happened. Here's the thing, though. Here's the deal. Of course, we simmed at the beginning of the regular season. Something changed with the lines. And no, it's not anything I did. But the overall of some players has drastically gone down. And I don't know why. Nothing changed. And it's not just that the statistical growth is what fell off. We have natural decline for some of our players, even if they're not over the age of 30. I don't think I've ever seen this happen. Pascal Réaume lost 8 offensive awareness. But I guess it bounced back with the statistical growth, so it all comes out in the wash. But I still don't know why it did that. You would think it would be inverted with the statistical growth dropping. But the natural growth is still where it is. It's very, very bizarre. I don't know if it's a glitch. I don't know what the hell it is. I don't know if that's happened before and I just haven't noticed, but yeah, so as a result, Philippe Réaume is a 78. Still at that medium elite potential. He's going to be on the top line. But the team doesn't exactly look as good as they did. And that is unfortunate. Because at the end of the last episode, we did look pretty good. Now, not so much. Defensively, it basically stayed the same. I think Deschamps and Camachi each dropped by a point. Just a very, very bizarre situation as you have Cousineau and Geet still pretty much in the same spot. So yeah, I don't know how well we're going to do this season now. It's rather unpredictable, which is maybe a good thing, maybe a bad thing. Maybe the team will bounce back rather quickly. That's kind of the hope. Now, the one thing as well that we didn't do was take a look. Oh, okay, he's on GAT now. That's unfortunate. The one thing we didn't do, of course, was take a look at the draft. And I feel like this draft class might be more important to us if this season goes poorly, which it very well could. Okay, well, this draft is going to suck. There is one player in the queue projected to go in the first round. Bear May from the Islanders. Great name. 45th right now on Central Scouting. We need to have a good season, is what we just learned. We need something here to go our way. I said it in the aftermath of us losing in the playoffs, especially that Game 2 overtime loss, that we needed to hope that that wasn't the moment that we look back on and say, man, and what if had we won that game? Because this upcoming draft isn't looking too good. And unfortunately, nor is our team at the moment. This could go very, very, very poorly. Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, that overtime loss. Okay, we're stringing some wins together. Let's go through December before we make any lineup changes. This isn't great, though. Although, like I said, stringing some wins together, we had won at least 4 in a row there. And hopefully that momentum doesn't go away here to the midpoint of the month. Okay, we're battling back towards a 500 record. We're not going to get there. But we at least have a bit more of a respectable record. And fun fact, we're in 4th in the division. Because this division's off to a slow start. So we're not in a horrible spot. Hugo Laflamme has 14 goals as a defenseman. And I will say, okay, there we go. So the overalls are back up. I will say this about moving a defenseman to forward. You know, I thought that would work this year. For those of you who are patrons of mine over on Patreon, of course, we do have an exclusive franchise series going on that platform as well. And we do have a defenseman in that series, similar to Hugo, that I tried to move over to forward out of necessity. And he didn't really perform. So Hugo's going to stay on defense. But to look here, Rayom, 21 points in 37 games. It's not great, is it? LaRue, 32 points in 37. And then again, like I said, man, I like Cole Huckins a lot. He's our captain. But in an ideal situation, I mean, he wasn't 89. That was an 81, so I have no idea what the hell's going on with these overalls. In an ideal situation, Cole Huckins isn't our top-line guy. He's just not. You know, that's why it made sense last year to go with a different combination of Corazzini, LaRue, and somebody else, and then have Huckins, Hannon, and Hines, the Triple H line. But regardless, we're here, we're trying to make the best of this now, and the team is winning some games here at this stage. Corazzini at 25 points, 17 for Hannon, our plus-minus, man, 5-on-5, a lot of these guys are just getting destroyed. Jaden Hines clearly isn't cutting it either. Duchesne struggling. Pascal Duchesne, though, doing well. LaPierre doing well. So Duchesne and LaPierre still working well together. Johan Loshing, 14 assists, but a -5. 30 penalty minutes for Justin Gill, and 22 for Boucher. And then down in the AHL, the obvious call-ups would be the likes of Dren Delorier, Marcourt, DeMay. So for the most part, the talent that we have here, it's who we're going to run with. I'm going to give it another month before making drastic changes. I do like the idea of reuniting Corazzini with LaRue and still having Hannon and Hines, although they're not exactly crushing it like they were before. Let's give it another month here. There isn't necessarily... Okay, that second and third pairing has to change. Jesus. I was going to say, there isn't necessarily a line that I'm incredibly worried about, but yeah, clearly second and third pairing needs to change. So we'll have Bates and Camachi, Deschamps, and Sauve out of necessity, because Bates, of course, is an offensive defenseman, and these guys do not get along all that well with some of the coaches that we have, but really it's been kind of the one thing. We have great coaches, but the chemistry with those great coaches hasn't been perfect, because we do have very particular setups here in terms of preferences amongst these players. Now we have 2 games left this month. We lose them both, so 23, 24, and 3. We're still hanging around towards a playoff spot right now, but obviously you have to ask the question, is this sustainable? Are we going to make the playoffs like this? And I just don't think that we are. So, God, what the hell are we going to do? Man, Boucher's up to 15 points and an even rating. Let's check Justin Gill's fighting preferences really quickly, because that is an area of concern. Again, we reached that agreement where we can say, hey, this guy shouldn't be fighting this much. I'm allowed to say that. It's set to rarely, too. He's just taking a crap load of penalties, so that doesn't help at all. So the big question here, then, is what should the lines be? And I'll tell you what. I think I'll jump cut it really quickly, get it set up. That way we don't have to, bore you with the process of getting it set up. All right, so the team is set. Let me get you a look here at the new lines. Controversial as they may be, we have it sorted by who has been the best performer, really to this point in the season. So, I discredited Huckins, and I said, and I stand by it, in an ideal situation, he's a second-line guy, but he has been one of our 3 best performers alongside LaRue, and Jacques Lapierre is going to get a decent little opportunity here We'll see what he can do. Second line, Duchesne, and Corazzini. Third line, Rayome, Loshing, and Boucher, and of course Gill. And the unfortunate thing is Aiden Hannon and Jaden Hines have been two of our worst performers this season. You could argue split them up, potentially send them down, although, Hines wouldn't be affected by waivers, Hannon would, but that's the attempt. Defensively, we have seen one change as Rafael Oulet has been called up in favor of Jameson Camachi, who, you look at the points, you look at the plus minus, he has been abysmal. He just is not an NHLer this season. So the new team, slightly new team, mostly just people in new places. In theory, on paper, it makes us better, getting, players who are performing at a higher level into a situation where they might be able to play better. But as we can see, that doesn't always mean anything. 3 losses, 3 wins, 2 more losses. Oh, God. See, that's the issue, man. That's the issue. The issue with this game, I'd say, is you can see a clear problem. And just because there's an obvious fix doesn't mean it's actually going to make it better. We are currently on 60 points after that month. It's not as if that month was drastically worse compared to what we've been seeing, but it certainly was not great. And now we are in a very, very bad spot here. The big issue is our goaltending has sucked, too. It has sucked. Which means one Nick Ruscia might get a huge opportunity here. And actually, now that I look at it, I, of course, can only have 3 goalies. I'd have to risk somebody to waivers. Risking Silva and Geet to waivers might not be the worst idea. 31 games and .898 save percentage. I don't think I want to risk him just yet to call up Penner. Damn it. We're going to stick with it. Let's go for it. Are we going to miss out on the playoffs? We very well could, despite this team looking pretty damn good on paper at times, especially, in the preseason before that crazy overall change happened. Right now, guys, it's not going to happen. We're going to miss out on the playoffs, and that conference final run might go down as a mirage. 79 points to make the playoffs. We're out. Frustrating. Very, very frustrating. This team just all season long didn't have it. And it definitely raises the question of what the hell are we going to do here? Because this upcoming draft looks pretty brutal. We finished the season 34, 43, and 5. But we missed out on the playoffs by a decent margin. Burnaby made the playoffs, so that's good for the AHL team, for those guys to get some experience. But, this is essentially the same team that won 2 playoff rounds last year. You wouldn't know it. Third worst offense, tied for third worst with Philadelphia. Our goals against per game was decent, so the defense and goaltending was all right. We just couldn't score. We just couldn't score. We had one of the best power plays in the league. Our penalty kill at 79% was decent as well. We just could not score goals 5-on-5. And I think that was pretty evident by some of the... Les Corazzini was a minus 36, for God's sakes. This team just didn't have it. We had 120 goal scorer in Boucher. That's it. Defensively, Hugo was great. Leroy was great. Sean Bates has been a massive disappointment. Massive, because he's clearly not an offensive defenseman. He's a defensive defenseman, but I can't switch him. And the goaltending as well. Just not good enough. So it really does raise the question now, as Joaquin Funk, who kicked the shit out of us in the playoffs, as well as Ben Weidman. Guys, come on. Joaquin Funk scored 66 goals. We weren't beating the Blue Jackets. We needed somebody else to upset the Blue Jackets, and then maybe we had a chance. I am, for the first time in this series, truly doubting our ability to win a cup. And I know that might be ridiculous to some because, well, our teams, and there was a time where we were debating, bumping up the draft class quality. But I had a feeling the draft class quality would turn, and it did. It's just kind of the way it goes when we have such ridiculous limitations. I've said it 4 or 5 times since it happened. That overtime, Game 2, might just go down as the high point of this series. If we win that game and take that 2-0 series lead, who knows what happens. Instead, here we are in a pretty rough spot. All things considered, the Calgary Flames have won the Stanley Cup. We'll, of course, take a look at how all of that went down. They beat Buffalo in 7. Award-wise, the Battle of Alberta, back-to-back cups between the two of them. Funk won the Art Ross. Crap load of trophies here for Columbus. And it's going to be nothing for us. Man, that Joaquin Funk is something else. And in the AHL, we also took home absolutely nothing. Let's take a look at the progress reports. Hopefully here, I'm going to go to the draft because, damn it, we need some good news. But I'm hoping we see some good development here. We saw some legitimate growth out of Philippe Rayon, but he's never going to hit the high overalls. Tim Orr might be a bottom 6 option for us next year. Cogliano's improving. Might be a bottom 6 option next year. Aaron Sim could eventually be a third pairing defenseman, as well as Jacob De Silva, Cade Darby. But for the most part here, again, we don't really have that many players with great potentials. Antoine Broussard's up to a 61. Too little too late in this low elite. Maurice Durand improved a decent amount, but not nearly enough. Let's look at the draft class here. It didn't look great for us. We're not going to be getting a franchise-level player, even if we win the lottery. It's still Bear May at the top of it. Yeah, that's why we're going to the draft here in this episode. As Boston wins it, we move up from 4 to 3. But yeah, that's why I want to get the draft done here in this episode, because this has been a complete and utter failure as Auston Matthews retires. Indeed, Matthews was better than Laine. Braden Point, Sebastian Aho. We've reached that point where Auston Matthews is retiring. As well as Andrei Vasilevsky, Igor Shestyuk, and Demko as well. All right, Auston Matthews becomes a coach. Well, that's good. I can have a coach that can teach me how to moon the authorities. Here we go. We're going to be taking a guy projected in the 40s at 3rd overall. The Bruins do get the franchise-level player in Doig. And we will be selecting Bear May from the Islanders. Really good shot, no weaknesses, 3 years away. Great player to get in the 2nd round. Not an ideal player to get 3rd overall. I think that goes pretty much without saying. We get the 4th pick of each round now from here on out. And looking ahead here, of course, the Huskies, the Oceanic not available, Sherbrooke not available, Huskies again. Halifax, Mario Chevry, I'm guessing. Oh boy, Val-d'Or, Shawinigan, Cape Breton, Louis de Champlain is shit. Hugo Racine, probably shit. Landon Pittis, not great. Moncton, when's the last time we had a Moncton player towards even the half? Man, Moncton has sucked throughout this entire series. No disrespect, Moncton. Marshall, now I've seen it pronounced 2 different ways. Nguyen or Win, regardless. He's terrible, but he's an enforcer, so maybe we take him. Tate Apostopoulos. He's from Gatineau, though. Val-d'Or, Moncton, Emmanuel Robichaud. Drummondville, Mark Traverse. Victoriaville, Blainville, Shawanigan. Ray Kostopoulos is available. Jermaine Hallweg's available. Couple of Islanders, but obviously no high-end talent at this stage. Okay, so in the 2nd round, it's fairly obvious. Mario Chevry, Probably not pronouncing that correctly, but what are you going to do? 4-year ETA, probably going to be that medium top 9. Let's take him. And indeed, he's a medium top 9. So that's looks to be about what the pace was going to be for the early stage of the second round. Next up, we're going to be able to get like 2 of these guys here. So we have Deschamplain, whose overall, or I should say potential, is terrible. Even if the overall is going to be okay. Racine's not looking that great. Pittis not looking that great. Weber's not looking that great. And then Marshall Wynn. I'm definitely taking the Enforcer with the second pick. It's just who goes first, and there is this low top 6 forward in John Weber. I mean, he is an overager, but a 3-year ETA. Can't pass up on that. Weber is going to be the pick here. And we'll look for the Enforcer afterwards. So John Weber out of Moncton. 66 overall, low top 6. Not bad. Not bad. A medium top 6, of course, would be even better. Although, would it? And next up here, yeah, we're going to make sure we take the Enforcer. The Enforcer? The Enforcer, also known as Marshall. He is the pick. He is a 60, medium 7th. Maybe that's what we need as a goddamn face puncher. 5th round, we are looking at probably, yeah, it's one or the other. Manuel Robichaud, decent shooting and defense, 5-year ETA though at 17 years old. And then there's this goalie in Traverse who is also terrible. Let's take the center in Emmanuel. Not great, but that's to be expected. We get to the 6th round. And from here, it is a complete crapshoot. Those are the players left available in terms of who we have information on. Sheldon Brennan just has reach. That's about it. Halifax option and Pelletier. Okay. Boy, do we have nothing to work with here. And for the hell of it, the younger options here, because I never really expect... I wish I could just look at overagers to lead the way here. You know, maybe I will. Maybe that's the strategy. Get back to drafting overagers, and maybe somehow, some way, one of them will have a high overall. I highly doubt it. In terms of the heaviest boy, Jalen Linzen. Bernard Lego, also available. The lightest boy, Rene Payette. Let's see. Linzen's a beast. Lego's a beast. Cohen Celios. I mean, we're just kind of looking for memes at this point, really, I think is the best way to describe it. We have 2 picks left in this draft, so why not meme it up? So for goalies, we'd take one of 2. Maxime Fichaud, who looks decent, actually, and Bernard Desroches, who is also looking decent. When in doubt, we could go with the 2 goalies. Defensively, we have 3 options. Heavy boy, Rene Goudreau, actually just a big boy at 6'5", 213. No information on him. There is Jermaine Hallweg, big boy as well at 19, 5-year ETA. And then Cohen Celios. Similar setup for him from the big boys school to big boys. Oh, I don't feel great about any of those options. And for the forwards, actually here, let's look at the right wings first. Mohamed Versteeg as an overager. Meh. Lego. Not looking all that great. And then Pelletier. He's got confidence. That's about it. On the left, Oulet. Decent point total for an overager. 4-year ETA. Darren Stewart, another overager. I'd prefer Oulet. And then Redenbach. Not looking that great. And at center, we have Sheldon Brennan. Not a very good point total. Only has the reach. And Kostopoulos looks all right as well. So we got 2 decent goalies potentially. 1 defenseman who, let's be honest, or it's not going to be a defenseman. Okay, so looking at the point totals here, it's tough to say that if we're taking forwards that it shouldn't be Oulet and Kostopoulos. So Ray Kostopoulos, welcome aboard. Medium 9, not bad. Only a 58 though. And our final pick is going to be Mark Ouellet, the overage 20-year-old who is a low top 9 at a 59. So that brings what might be the worst draft we've had yet. Obviously, some of those early drafts were pretty goddamn rough, so it can be easy to forget. But it brings that draft to an end and brings to a close one of the worst goddamn episodes I can remember. Nothing went our way in this one. Just nothing. And in terms of big roster decisions we can make, there really isn't much. We just need to hope that next season this team gets it together. That's really all we can hope for, guys.